Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Well, the news just keeps coming for your Utah Jazz. Austin Ainge, Saturday at the Darren Peterson press conference, I asked him, what's next? And first he gave an answer, then he admitted that's kind of a non-answer. And he finally did say, well, we don't have any centers on the roster. We're going to have to fix that. And now they have one center on the roster. Jusuf Nurkic, 2 years, $22 million. He is rewarded for that double-double campaign he put together last year. He's basically a 10-point, 10-board, 4-assist guy. That is not starting center money. I don't think they see him as a starting center. Maybe in fits and starts he could against some teams, but he doesn't move great, and he's going to get attacked on defense by the better teams in the league for sure. So if you think because they're doing this they're passing on Walker Kessler, yeah, I don't think so. Kessler's got his offer out there. Now it remains to be seen if somebody is going to top it. He's getting about $28 million a year. Other teams can offer him 4 years and $178 million. So that is like the average of $44.5 million a year. And the Jazz can match that. As a matter of fact, the Jazz could go to 5 years and $241 million. They could put him up over $48 million a year. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to go that far. How far they'll go, what kind of an offer might he get? Everyone's talking about the Lakers as a possibility. All this remains to be seen. This is the single biggest story now for the Jazz. This is the biggest drama going forward. What is going to happen with Kessler? We've got it up on our Facebook page. Is Walker Kessler a must-have for the Utah Jazz? And we've got a lot of comments, and they're all over the board. Some of you absolutely want him. It's just a simple yes. Some of you no, and some of you at the right price. A few of you are like, draw the line at $30 million. How far will they push it? I could see them pushing it to 35. If somebody gave him $40 million a year or more, I kind of think they'd let him walk. But I don't know that. I can't guarantee that. But you offer him 28. Now, as soon as I say that, there is an example. The Lakers, they were painted into a corner there, and I thought they might draw a line in the sand. And the Pistons, the Pistons they went for it. They offered Austin Reeves the big money, and so Reeves, who had a $30 million a year offer from the Lakers, ends up getting $46 million a year. So, and maybe the Jazz will find it. I'd be surprised if they went 50% over their offer. That would surprise me. Hey, I've been surprised before, and I was surprised that the Lakers did that with Reeves. I do think that in Austin Ainge's answer, and he could certainly pivot, but when he says they don't have any centers on the roster, it tells you, for those of you, and I think there's a significant portion of you who still think Jackson can play center, I would just tell you in limited minutes. Depending on the lineups on the floor, depending on the other team, the lineup they run out there are times he could play center. But he is a power forward, and certainly against other starters in the league, especially starters on good teams, he needs to be a forward. He doesn't need to be matching up with Wembanyama and the Joker and, whoever else. Now, against some teams, they're missing guys or for backup minutes. Yeah, I could see it a little bit. But I think with the Joker, or not with the Joker, I think with Nurkic, the plan is still to sign Kessler. So we'll see how that plays out, and we'll see what kind of offer Kessler gets if someone really comes and goes big. There was some other NBA news. Lou Dort, a mild surprise, the Thunder are bringing him back. They're going to let some other guys go. I think all eyes are on Nikola Topic, Sorber and Williams also, who combined are making about $18 million, which is what Lou Dort makes. So that opens up, 5 roster spots. They drafted 2 guys. They'll be in the market for a few more guys at minimum. And it'll be interesting to see someone like Topic. He's this mystery. He's Serbian. He's 20 years old. He's been in the league 2 years, had a back problem, sat out the entire rookie year, only played 10 games this year. Now he's got that. There's a quote from Nikola Jokic saying who's obviously getting older, but in the Joker's view, Jokic says Topic is the future of Serbian basketball. How good is he by NBA standards? We're not going to find out in Oklahoma City. They gave it 2 years. He's only 20 years old. It'll be interesting to see who comes calling for him, because somebody's going to come calling for him. Be interesting to see how many years, how much money he gets, and how good a team is willing to gamble on him. If you're in the bottom third of the league and half your roster is borderline or not NBA guys, it's easy to take a swing on him. But will a better team spend more money and give him a shot? That's I'm intrigued. People say a lot of things about him. We just haven't seen enough. 10 NBA games in 2 years is just not enough to know. So we'll see how that plays out. But Lou Dort gets his option picked up, and now we'll go through all this again. You'll hear rumors about him because he's a free agent next year. So keep that in mind. A couple other questions we got up on our Facebook page, and these are about some of the other moves out there. A lot of you, Jusuf Nurkic returning, are you happy to have him? He largely impressed Jazz fans. He had the attitude people want to see out of a veteran. He can still play. He can play at the top of the key, out beyond the 3-point line, spread the floor. That could be really useful when Isaiah Collier comes in and wants to drive, as we saw. That could be really useful when Peterson is in the game, when Darren Peterson wants to drive and score. Anybody who wants to take somebody off the dribble and get to Keontae George, Ace Bailey, we can go down the list, right? He's a good complementary player at the offensive end. Now you have to figure out the defensive end because you're not getting much shot blocking out of him, and the rim protection hurts. But hey, offensively, you want to pull people away from the hoop. He is a major positive there. So he's back, and most of you like that. And then the other thing that's out there is, man, the rumors about LeBron James to the Warriors, they just keep growing. Do the Lakers want to move on? Do they have other players they want to prioritize? Do they want LeBron James at an exception, get him to the exception and get him in at $15 million, but does he want to get 25 or 35 and go somewhere else? I can't imagine he's going to get more than that. The Warriors seem like they're going to be an old team running 5 guys out there who were awesome a decade ago, but now, on any given night, are they going to have 3 or 4 of them available? LeBron has been pretty durable. There's talk about bringing Anthony Davis in. That seems like a big risk to me. They just signed Porzingis. That seems like, if not as big a risk as Davis, well, maybe bigger. Bigger or as big as Davis, right? It does look like, Steph Curry at this point in his career is probably good for missing 15 or 20 games. And it does look like Draymond Green is coming back, that he'll negotiate and get a longer deal but sign for a lower number and make room to bring on some of these other guys. So it's interesting. It's that time of year in the NBA, right? So we'll take a break. We'll catch you up to date on whatever breaks this morning. But there were 3 or 4 noticeable moves yesterday that I found intriguing. So we'll get all of that coming up. What is trending is an hour away. Stay with us. Still ahead in this hour, Steve Cleveland talking hoops next, then Mike Folta on the NHL draft and the moves the Mammoth are making, multiple trades. That's all coming up. Stay with us.
Miami, July 5th and July 31st. Ice Cube's Big 3 is back at the Amerant Bank Arena, featuring big stars like Dwight Howard, Joe Johnson, Lance Stevenson, and more. And featuring your home team, the Miami 305, led by Michael Beasley. Grab your tickets now at big3.com/tickets or Ticketmaster. Presented by iHeart.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun. An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast!
An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined by Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach, former Fresno State coach. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
Steve, it's that time of year. There's a lot going on in the NBA. Draft picks are getting introduced. Trades are being made. Trades are being rumored. What is intriguing you most right now with multiple storylines zigzagging?
I think the number one thing for me is Darren Peterson. And obviously we know he's the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. And, great player at Kansas, played for Bill Self. And I just think that he's a guy that the Jazz locally here, I think, can have an immediate impact. Obviously, he was a McDonald's All-American, Naismith Prep Player of the Year. But in this rebuild of the Jazz, in a very young backcourt, obviously with Keontae George, what they do have going, but compared to other issues that the Jazz have had, I think right now that what we see happening here with Darren Peterson and his ability to shoot the basketball, his ability to make an impact immediately in this, in the program, and hopefully watch this Jazz rebuild unfold in front of all of us. And I think that because of that, there's a few things in my mind that are kind of happening here. Number one, yes, we need to take care of business, but probably number one is Kessler getting an extension. And I think that seems to be in place. Now, hopefully that happens. And then, you look at Will Hardy, who is basically for a number of years now just kind of waited, and they've gone through this process and trying to, break through and eventually, between not having a lot of bigs, what's going to happen in free agency, what's the depth of the market, who knows what's going to happen. But does Nurkic and Love return? Who knows? I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for Nurkic to come back and have that kind of size. So him, Filipowski, and do we have a backup center? And then the impactful Robert Williams, who spent the last 3 years at Portland, undersized, but he has an opportunity to really do some things and have an impact. So Darren Peterson, number one, and then how we all put the pieces together is going to be it'll be interesting to watch and see how it unfolds.
I saw your son Casey Saturday night.
You did?
Yeah.
Where at?
At Sundance.
Oh, yes. You know what? We had tickets to Sundance, and something happened. But at the last minute, we couldn't go. I love going to Sundance, and I love the entertainment there and the music. It's always a cool thing. I'm glad you saw him.
Yeah, it was freaky. He was like he looks like Cleve Jr. now. I mean, he always looked like it to a degree, but as he's gotten older, he's a dead ringer now.
He is. He's a good boy. He's got great kids.
How old is he now?
Oh, don't even ask me that. I'm going to say he's in his mid-40s.
It's kind of ballparking it.
I'm sorry. I should be better than that.
I remember 25, 30 years ago, him running around with the team. I think he was a manager or something. He was around the team a lot.
It's funny. With hoops, he's so involved with AAU, and they have a variety of events that take place throughout the year, and he has a team that he coaches, and it's fun to watch him coach and go to see some of those games and kind of just sit back and enjoy it. And so that's a blessing for a dad who was a coach, and then to see his son involved in a different capacity. It's been really fun for me to watch him play and coach and be a part of that whole process of watching not only his own kids but other kids that are moving on and becoming great players.
Yeah, so it was fun. We chatted. We were in line to get refreshments before the show. We chatted for a few minutes, so it was fun.
Good. Isn't that a great place up there?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, it was great. I'm going to go back. It's the first time I'd been there. And,
oh no, you got to do that. That's got to be a regular thing.
Yeah. I told the director there that you'll see me back there for sure. It was a great time. Absolutely gorgeous setting, obviously. So, as I watch Darren Peterson, the thing that I see of all the players involved in the draft is when it comes to scoring, he is the most natural. It's just something that he has an extremely high ability to do at from a wing player's perspective, whatever you want a wing player to do in terms of scoring, I believe he can do it. And with that in mind, it's going to be fascinating to see how Will Hardy brings all this stuff together, because you've got some highly skilled players on that team, and not everybody can do the same thing all the time. From a coaching perspective, what type of challenge is Will Hardy going to face to be able to get it all to mesh?
Well, we've all kind of watched this thing unfold, and, we're not quite sure how it's going to, happen and take place. But I'm telling you right now, to just have the pieces and then go forward and figure out what Darren Peterson's impact's going to have in this program. Obviously, everyone is completely aware of how he'll impact this team. He played for a great college coach in Bill Self. I think, you look at the Jazz, and, Peterson obviously is a shooting guard at 6'6". He's had great accolades, but it is a rebuilding time, and everybody knows that. And it's a very youthful backcourt alongside Keontae George, and who it's done well
and Ace
had an
Bailey.
impact in the program.
And Ace Bailey, too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that. You took the words out of my mouth. And so those are the issues, and what's happening with the pre-draft workouts and those kind of things. You guys are probably way more involved in that than I am. But it's definitely a time that, number one, let's give Kessler an extension, get him his money, get started. That's a good starting point. I think Will Hardy's, the free agency, what's the market for depth? That's his problem and challenges. And I don't know if Nurkic and Love come back. You guys are pretty in the know about that stuff. I don't know. I wouldn't mind having Nurkic back. Love, I'm not necessarily committed to. But the other thing is Portland Trailblazers trading Robert Williams III. That helps the front court. There's it makes the team better, and he's got a good body, and it'll be fun to watch out and give Kyle Filipowski a kind of a backup center. So we'll see how that plays out. But I love what's happening, and I'm hoping that we can push all the right buttons and get out of this rebuild mode and start winning games and having an impact for the people living in Utah.
It's more of a detail and a footnote, because obviously the story is going to be all the guys who can score it for the Jazz, and how's that going to shake out, and how are those guys going to play. But usually when you have a bunch of guys who can score, it's an opportunity for someone who isn't a scorer to the fan base will fall in love with that player. They may be the 7th, 8th, 10th player, and maybe it's a ball-handling guard. Maybe it's someone who's defensive-minded. We're all old enough to remember when Kurt Rambis. I mean, there are definitely 4 guys on a court who are going to score more than that guy. But people just love the horn-rimmed glasses and battling for every rebound. Do you see anybody on the Jazz roster who's going to earn that role? It's like, hey, you can't score it because you're the 5th option, so doing us all this other stuff, the dirty work, is going to make you be the gutty underdog, and the coaches and the fans are going to fall in love with you.
Yeah, you caught me off guard a little bit, but let's talk. Let me think through this for a moment.
It could be Collier, maybe, but I don't know that there's any time for him to handle the ball. I don't even know if he's going to get it. How much is he going to play? Because is Peterson, Keontae George, Ace Bailey? I mean, there are a lot of guys who might have the ball in their hands, so maybe there isn't space for him. Conchar maybe was kind of sort of in that role last year. Assuming he's back, and we'll see how they, could be a trade here. Who's to say who's going to be back? Any of these guys could be in a trade. I just didn't know if there's somebody you really like, someone who played well without the ball. Coaches always love the person who can impact the game without having the ball and taking the shot.
I think probably for me, if I was picking my team, I really like Sensabaugh. I mean, he kind of probably will shift to the 3 from the power forward. We'll see how that all plays out. But what I do like about him is that he has the versatility. He has the ability to play with the ball or without the ball. And obviously you've got Walker Kessler and veterans like Nurkic and, those kinds of people. I don't know what will happen there or what the mid-level exceptions are. You guys are probably more in tune with that. But I do like the fact that there is some depth here. And so there's not an immediate, yes, Peterson is going to have an impact. Yes, he's going to be given the keys to the kingdom here and move forward. But when I look at Keontae George and Isaiah Collier and Elijah, Hart was kind of a two-way guy. Ace Bailey, they have the pieces, and I think what's great about this is we actually have a guy that is ready. He's played in the collegiate system for great coaches, and now he has a chance to really help this program. And I think that if Sensabaugh ends up at the 3, and Jaren Jackson obviously is a big part of this group. You got better defenders, Cody Williams, Kyle Filipowski, both guys that have gotten better defensively. So, I don't know a lot about the levels of exception and so forth in terms of what they have the ability to go and get. But I like this team. I like the depth. And I think that Darren Peterson answers a lot of questions. And, yes, he's the number 2 pick in the NBA draft and all of that. But I just feel like he's ready to have an impact. He has had all the accolades. And they're at a point, do they need to to rebuild? And no better time now than with having Darren Peterson be at the foundation of that.
College game, some legislation, some stuff that's out there. What do you think about the situation where we're talking about you got 5 years to compete and you get 1 free transfer? It seems like there's something that needs to be done, particularly when you get somebody like a May winning the title at Michigan and then going over to the Dallas Mavericks, and you hear stuff about the college game isn't sustainable. So it seems like, I don't know if that solves everything, but maybe that's something that needs to be implemented.
I agree with that something has to be done. And when I look at that and look at the Jazz and how it impacts the Jazz, it is confusing for me. And I don't really have an answer to that. And I understand it because I do follow this a great deal. But I'm just going to defer here. What are your thoughts? Because I just think that with Peterson being the shooting guard and doing all the things that he's doing and the impact that he's going to have, I just don't understand where we're going with this. And maybe you can give me some insights on how can we be in this situation. And, Will Hardy, go back to Will Hardy, who's trying to work this thing out and looking to have more depth. And what do I do with, Nurkic and Love, and what happens to Filipowski, and all of those kind of questions that need to be answered. But I think maybe one of the most impactful things in my mind is Robert Williams. I think he might have more impact than all of the guys we've been talking about and listening and over the last several weeks and months. And I think he's somebody that, I know he didn't put up huge numbers at Portland, but he is a little undersized, but he's a guy that can really have an impact. And he's got the experience. He's mature. And so I'm hoping to see him blossom and help this Jazz team have more depth and have more sustainability in building this program again.
I'm intrigued by Robert Williams. He was in Boston, so the Angels know him well. There's been a lot of talk about interest in him in free agency. And because of all the things you say, the Lakers are looking for somebody, the Blazers, the Celtics, with the Jazz go in there. I just don't know the price tag there. If they're going with Walker Kessler, I don't see how they're going to have the money or the playing time that Robert Williams would want. So he ends up getting squeezed out. If Kessler doesn't work out for whatever reason, and I'm leaning towards he does work out, then I could see where, is that someone you pivot towards? Your thought on Nurkic coming back? If there's enough money, he's a different kind of player than Kessler, so I can see why that's attractive. Kessler offensively is going to be down at the dunk spot, and Nurkic can be dragging his guy away from the hoop. We saw him play, beyond the top of the key outside the three-point line and create room for, Peterson to drive or Ace Bailey or Keontae or whoever.
Right.
So, all those Austin Ainge's thing was we don't have any centers on the roster and they have to get 2. But they have to be able to afford them, and then how do those 2 complement each other? So Will Hardy has a lineup. Sometimes you need to have a lineup that matches what the other team is doing. Sometimes you need to have a lineup. It's like, well, we can't match what we're doing, but we're going to do something different, and we're going to try to make you match us. But you got to give a coach the different skill sets and the options, or that doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that for me, I'd like to keep Nurkic. in the mix. And I don't know that that's going to happen or not. But I think that we're talking about there are other centers in this team. You know what? I don't even know if it matters. We're playing positionless basketball these days, and I would like to see Nurkic. I like his game. He can provide some size. He's a guy that looks like he should be a center, but I don't know that he's going to return. I don't really know what's going to happen there. But certainly. Robert Williams III helps the front court, but again, is that the answer? I'm not sure, but I don't think those are bad choices. And I think that in my mind, the most impactful guy, as I've already mentioned, is Robert Williams, and he spent last 2 or 3 years at Portland, I know, and he's undersized, but he's a guy that could fit with Darren. And we know Darren Peterson's going to be a franchise guy for these guys. He's a kind of a cornerstone with the ability to really score. Doesn't have great size or anything, but he is a shooter. And I think he's excited to play with Markkanen and Jackson. And those are guys that will be, mentors for him. And hopefully his transition will be quick and he'll have an impact immediately. Like I've always said, you can't have enough shooters, and not at the expense of having no defense, but you can't really, great shooters really make teams, and that kind of depth is really important as guys get hurt. So hopefully they'll make those decisions, and the Jazz will be better as a result of the draft and as a result of trades, and hopefully Coach Hardy will, dip into the free agency market and make Utah better and make them, having a presence in the NBA, and they haven't for a long time. We've been rebuilding and rebuilding. We need to get off that and give these young guys a chance to step up, make plays, and get confident. It's really hard to get confidence if you're not playing. And so I think we're at a point now with Peterson, who's going to immediately come in and impact the program, that we're going to see the Jazz taking steps forward, and that it is a priority to, number one, bring Kessler back. Maybe Nurkic, let's make sure we get him there. You got Filipowski, who's a backup center, Robert Williams. I think the Jazz have made some good moves, and hopefully they'll continue to make some here in the near future and make the Jazz more, and just make them more real and in a position to get better. And I think we're all kind of waiting in the state of Utah to see this thing get better, and I think the pieces are there, and it starts with Darren Peterson.
Steve, thanks for the time. We will talk to you again. We appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
All right, there's Steve Cleveland talking hoops, and Eric Pincus will join us covering the Lakers, a guy who's covered the NBA and especially salary cap issues. He's going to join us at 9 o'clock this morning. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Mike Folta talking hockey, talking Utah Mammoth moves next. Stay with us.
Miami, July 5th and July 31st. Ice Cube's Big Three is back at the Amerant Bank Arena, featuring big stars like Dwight Howard, Joe Johnson, Lance Stevenson, and more. And featuring your home team, the Miami 305, led by Michael Beasley. Grab your tickets now at big3.com/tickets or Ticketmaster. Presented by iHeart.
Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to check in with Mike Folta, radio voice of the Utah Mammoth. Joined us late in yesterday's show to get his take on a weekend full of trades, acquisitions, multiple trades, guys who were traded for draft picks or were then traded for more guys. Here's Mike with PK and I on the Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to welcome Mike Folta back to the show. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. On my way to development camp right now down at the practice facility in Sandy. So we actually have some hockey players on the ice wearing mountain blue to look at for the first time in a while. So that's exciting. I guess summer's over.
Wait a second. We haven't got to July 4th yet. What do they do down there during this time?
Development camp, to be honest, is a lot of kumbaya, and it's like orientation week in college. Like, you go, the seniors are there leading the exercises. You kind of get acquainted with campus. You learn where everything is. Maybe you make a couple friends. That's what this is for the Utah Mammoth prospects. These are guys that have not made it to the NHL yet, and they all come and kind of learn about the facilities, the nutrition, strength programs, things like that. And they're on the ice, but it's not super competitive. Like, these guys haven't been skating a ton for the last few weeks. So it's more of a chance to get them used to the organization and introduce them to the faces that they'll be around if they do make it up to the NHL.
Yeah, I can recall. I had to do that at Seacrest Hall. My first 2 years, I went to Northern Arizona in Flagstaff, and so they had all the incoming freshmen there, and we're in the ground floor, the dorm, and the guy's talking about all the stuff that we needed to do that week, and it was the week before, and he kept talking about GPA. And I'll never forget, one of the guys raised his hand and said, "What does GPA mean?" What? Even I knew that.
Northern Arizona, where the N stands for knowledge.
Hey, that's a Nebraska joke. Way to borrow that. Very nice.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry, go Big Red.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah, I've worked with multiple people in Nebraska, and you want to take a shot at him, just say, yeah, the N on the helmet stands for knowledge. Nebraska fans are all like, I've heard it before. Yeah, everyone.
Oh, I get it. It starts with a K.
See,
okay, I get
good.
it now.
That's good. Well, that'll up your GPA.
Well, you guys would appreciate this. I remember my orientation at Purdue, prestigious land-grant university, by the way. My orientation at Purdue, we snuck away and played basketball. Like, me and a couple other guys,
nice.
Snuck out of there, and we were shooting hoops to Korek for like an hour. It was the coolest thing.
A rebel even when he was 18 years old.
I'm curious why the NHL doesn't do what the NBA does. Create a summer league, go play in Toronto or Montreal, someplace where they're going to love hockey year-round for sure. It's a no-brainer. Create a little product for ESPN to put on and get to see some of these guys in a little more competitive environment. I'm sure there's a reason they haven't done that. I just don't know what it is. Do you?
I think one of the reasons is that it's summertime, and if you did that, you'd probably have 18-year-olds punching each other in the face. Because you think of training camp in the NHL, and that's an opportunity to prove yourself. And the way that a lot of guys try and prove themselves in the National Hockey League is to get in fights or to be physical or to take runs at the best players on the ice. Think of a guy like Liam O'Brien. Liam O'Brien, Spicy Tuna as he's known, he literally fought his way into the NHL with the Washington Capitals. Like, he was not on anybody's radar. And then at rookie camp, he was beating people up. And then at main camp, he was beating people up. And they never cut him because he just kept beating people up. And they're like, wait a minute, this guy's pretty good at beating people up. So that would be a hazard in the summertime when they're trying to make sure everybody's healthy.
Got it.
I like what Bill Armstrong did in terms of the trades. Now, I have no idea how's it going to be with the youngster. I know he's got good size, but, we'll see in a few years. But I'm talking about picking up a goaltender and moving up and the Peterka trade, just evaluate all that stuff.
Well, so we traded J.J. Peterka for those of our listeners who didn't hear, but we traded J.J. Peterka. We got a couple of first-round picks, and we flipped one of those first-round picks to Detroit for a goaltender who seemingly is ready to break into the NHL. And, guys, I had a chance to watch Sebastian Cossa. That's the goalie's name. I had a chance to watch him in the American Hockey League, and he's enormous. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they throw him out there in certain situations with the Jazz, and Will Hardy wants to stretch the floor a little bit because this guy is at 6'7". Yeah. He can move, too, though. Right. He's very athletic for his size. And he spent the last 3 years in the NHL in the American Hockey League with Detroit. But, guys, he was kind of log-jammed in their system. Like, they didn't have a path forward for him to the National Hockey League, Utah says, well, Sebastian, we can find a path forward to you. Come over here. He's supposed to be the number 2 goaltender this year behind Karel Vejmelka. And by all accounts, by people you talk to, goalie coaches around professional hockey, a lot of people think he is ready to make that transition. So I'm really high on Kosa, and it turns, I think, something that was a weakness for Utah, goaltender depth in the organization. I think it turns that weakness into a strength because you've got Karel Vejmelka now with Sebastian Kosa, and then you also have a guy in Michael Robel who's looking pretty good in the American Hockey League as well. So they also traded up to get their first-round pick at 17th overall, Ethan Belchez, 6'5", 230. You could line him up off the edge at Rice Eccles, and he'd look right at home. He is a mountain of a man. Kind of seems like Bill Armstrong has a type.
Yeah, he does now.
With these big boys. But a really exciting couple of days, guys.
So the thing about him is 6'5", 230 as an 18-year-old. So I'm wondering, I think most of us 18 at those orientation weekends, we all kept growing. I know PK did. I did. So I don't know, is he going to end up playing at like 245 or something? And when is it? Because I also read that he's going to Michigan State for a year, but then in the story, and it was the writer's opinion in parentheses off to the side, and maybe 2 or 3 years. That, whoa, 3 years? Holy cow. And then AHL time, and we might not see him for 3-4 years.
Yep, and that's not incredibly uncommon in the NHL. Now, those guys come into the summertime and they always say during camp, oh, I want to make the team. I want to make the team as an 18-year-old. Well, it doesn't happen all that often. But Ethan is a specimen, guys. I've had a chance to meet him and interview him. He's a unit. And you mentioned it. He's headed to Michigan State, so he wasn't there this last year. Typically, the guys who play college hockey, they have a better opportunity to put on muscle with those college strength programs compared to junior hockey when they don't really have as strong of a strength and conditioning program. So I don't know if I would expect him to bulk up, guys, because one thing he shared with us was that growing up, he was kind of always the fat kid. He was the chubby kid, and I'm hyperbolizing a little bit here, but Ethan told us he always grew up big, but he still has those like small guy skills, if that makes sense. Like he's got great hands, a ton of ability in that sense. So I don't know if he's going to be playing at 240, 250. I would doubt that, to be honest. But I think his nutrition and his strength that now he gets at the collegiate level, that's going to help him be more dynamic and explosive because he's probably got to be a little bit better of a skater before he can reach the NHL, likely in a couple years.
Listening to Armstrong talk and his media availability, acknowledging now that they've got these prospects, but it's at least for maybe 1 or 2 of them, probably 2, I would think, the time is now. And it looks like that trade opened up some possibilities. What do you forecast there?
I couldn't see that trade that sent J.J. Peterka to Boston. I couldn't see that without thinking of T.J. Ginla, because T.J. Ginla could play a similar position that J.J. Peterka was in, and the Mammoth would hope that T.J. could play it a little bit better. T.J. is a little bit more of a complete player probably than JJ is, or at least could be more of a complete player because he still has that scoring ability that JJ had, but he's a little bit better in his battles, probably covers more of the ice than JJ did defensively. So I couldn't see that without thinking of T.J. Ginla, who I think has the best chance to make the team out of these young prospects. And it absolutely does, PK, open up some space for one of those young guys, but they still have to earn it. Yeah. And we don't know what Bill's going to do in free agency, which opens up on July 1st. So we anticipate Bill adding in free agency, and you also have some incumbent players who are pending free agents as well. Alex Kerfoot, Kevin Stenlund, Ian Cole, Barrett Hayton's a restricted free agent. So some of those guys either need to be re-signed or let go. There's a lot that remains to be seen, but whichever young guys make the team, they will have had to earn that spot. And another guy that people aren't talking about either is is Daniil Boot, who we saw for a couple games at the NHL level last year, and he spent most of the season in the minors. But he's a guy who I hope, for his sake and for the organization's sake, is ready to make the jump to be a full-time NHLer this year. But he's still kind of in that crop of prospects, if you will.
I find this trade really interesting. I think I've gotten a lot of points of it, and I'm going to kind of put out here what I know, and then you either add or subtract whether there's right or wrong or missing, okay? So the Peterka for Doan deal, on the surface, oops, don't outperform Peterka, but good pivot by the Mammoth to get 2 picks and to turn one of those picks into the goaltender they needed, and then we'll see what they do with the other pick. And Peterka might work in Boston where he didn't work in Utah, and the thing that I've read that makes sense, having watched the team and listened to you call the games, is that Peterka couldn't get on the top 2 lines and stay there. And when you don't do that, you're probably not getting a lot of time on the power play. And when you don't do that, your numbers are going to suffer. And it's not going to match your rep, your salary, your expectations. And a guy like Peterka is too good to exist on the 3rd and 4th line with his rep and his paycheck and all that. So they needed to move him, and they do have multiple youngsters coming up, Tisha Ginla first, but some more behind that. And those guys need the spots on the 3rd and 4th line. They couldn't afford to have Peterka there. Does all of that make sense to you? Am I missing any parts of it? Is there something that needs to be added or subtracted?
As always, DJ, you are all over it. That's pretty much exactly what happened. And look, JJ is a super talented player, but think of Darren Peterson. You wouldn't deploy him as a role player, right? Like he's got to have the ball in his hands. And JJ has a ton of skill, really good hockey player, ton of speed as well. But playing on the 3rd line was not the best fit for him. He was brought in, guys. He was brought in to play with Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley, and he did that early in the season. They had flashes of brilliance because they have so much skill, but it was not the right fit. It's kind of like the saying from the movie Miracle and Herb Brooks with the 1980 Olympic team. We're looking for the best players, or we're looking for the right players. We're not necessarily looking for the best players. And JJ just wasn't the right player to fit in Utah's lineup. And I commend Bill Armstrong for quickly pivoting and recouping as much value as possible. And when you look at the trade tree, you essentially are giving up Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan for 2 first-round picks or for a first-round pick in Sebastian Cossa. And when you look at it that way, I think organizationally, the Mammoth valued Doan and Kesselring at about that price, at about a first and a second-round pick. Well, they got a first and a second, or they got 2 firsts for J.J. Peterka, so they actually increased their value. Now, if everything went right, then J.J. Peterka would still be a Utah Mammoth and still be a key part of this team. Yeah. But it just wasn't the right fit. Armstrong pivots, and now the Mammoth kind of rearranged some of that value. And, guys, you have almost $8 million more in cap space to work with, $21 million in total, so you have a lot more flexibility now after the move.
Yeah, well, no GM is going to bat 1,000. It just doesn't work that way. And, I've heard many guys say, okay, you make a move, and it's good, it's bad, whatever it might be, and assuming for the sake of argument that it's not a great move, well, don't make it worse by trying to continue with it, as you say, pivot and get off of that. And the thing that I'm taking in just this last week or so, well, since the weekend, is that Armstrong, and he's had examples of this, but I think this past weekend might be the best since they've been in town, is that he's not afraid to be bold and make moves. And, you're not going to always be perfect, but you've got to be bold in order to get better. And at least he's willing to try that. So I have a level of confidence in his boldness that more things will work than don't.
Yeah, and I think this organization with Bill Armstrong and Chris Armstrong as the president of Hockey Ops, they want to be aggressive. And what do they tell you in football? Like, if you're playing linebacker, if you're if you're going to fail, like fail at full speed.
Yeah.
Fail coming downhill, right?
It's
like
the story
fail
of my
being
life.
aggressive.
Yeah.
At least the first part, right? but if they're going to fail, they want to fail forward. And I think the idea is that if you keep taking these intelligent, calculated swings, you might strike out here or there, but if you keep swinging hard, you're going to leave the yard at some point.
The DJ likes to say with me, is throwing enough stuff against the wall that something sticks.
That's right. I think it's a little bit more calculated than that, but that's the idea,
Ooh,
right?
Me or
like
Bill?
When you keep taking these chances.
Bill, 100% Bill. I stand by this throwing stuff against the wall thing. Oh, man. I do think the thing there that I left out, I'm glad you mentioned it, we need to underline this, the $8 million in cap space. I meant to mention that when I was running through everything, and I didn't. And that $8 million, you can NHL payrolls, you can get a really good player for $8 million. Now, whether that's taking on a lot of salary in a trade or signing a free agent, but we not only need to say, okay, here's the players they gave up, and now here's the players they eventually got after multiple more deals, and we're still waiting on another draft pick out there. But we also have to analyze that cap space, what they do with that.
Yeah, and I think the temptation is to just want to go out and sign the biggest free agent, but we remind people every year that's not really Bill Armstrong's MO. In free agency, his strategy has been kind of to nibble around the edges and fill roster needs, as opposed to going out and making the sexiest splash. Bill says this a lot. You don't want to be the team that wins the offseason and then looks foolish in the regular season. So I wouldn't expect – and it's not a great free agent class as well. So I'm glad that, DJ, you mentioned, the trade route where you can acquire a big player via trade, because that's more likely, in my opinion, to happen than just signing a big free agent. But also consider this, guys. You are going to have a couple years of these young hotshots on their entry-level contract, which is great. And a lot of good teams are good because they have good players on entry-level contracts. But at some point, what's the saying? These hens are going to come home to roost, something like that. Yeah. Like, you're going to have to pay these good players. And if T.J. Ginla is the player that you hope he's going to be, you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. And if Dmitry Simashev and Daniil Boot and Cole Baudouin and Caleb Denoye, and if all these young guys are the good players that you hope they're going to be, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money. So you want to be very judicious about how you hand out salaries, especially right now, because those young guys are going to need big contracts.
DJ does the soccer play-by-play, and he's converted. It's 0-0, it's draw, all this lingo. I'm wondering, you as an American, have you converted and call it, instead of organization?
Well, which one's hockey? Organization?
Well, I think the Canadians, like Armstrong, it's always organization. And I'm just wondering, since you're around these Canadians so much, do you say organization, or do you stick with the American pronunciation, organization?
Purdue, it's one syllable. You just say club.
I think in the summertime, I'm pretty down the middle. But you talk to me again in February, and I'm going to be phoning in. Oh, hey, boys, how's it going? Like, organization's doing great.
So they do get to you over time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
So
now in the break, I'm going to YouTube to watch the McKenzie brothers. Nice.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Mike, we appreciate it. Hit him right down the middle here for the rest of the summer, because summer isn't over no matter what you think.
All right.
Okay.
Pray and pray, baby.
There
That's how I roll.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there's Mike Folta. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Queen Carvania stood haloed by the morning sun, An army hung on her every word.
My champions, I have sold my chariot on Carvana. 'Twas a lovely SUV, an inexplicably queenly offer. They're even coming to the castle to collect it. Tonight, we feast!
An offer you can feast on. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.